How is everybody doing? We're going to take a look at Roxy music on vinyl LP. This was one of the most influential British bands of the 70s and 80s, fronted by Bryan Ferry, who also had a parallel solo career to the band. You could divide Roxy into two distinct eras. First era is from the early 70s until the mid 70s. Then there was a bit of a break, and then late 70s, 79 to 82, where they released their masterpiece AVALON. So let's check them out right now. So the debut was titled Roxy Music, and this was where it all started, I guess, with the original lineup. This was released in 1972. There's no track titles on the sleeve. The band members at the time are Phil Manzinera, guitar, Andy MacKay, saxophone, Bryan Ferry, vocals, Graham Simpson on bass, Paul Thompson on drums, and the infamous Brian Eno on synthesizers and tape loops and all that stuff. So yeah, he added a kind of a sprinkling of magic to the band that a lot of early fans loved. This album was recorded at Command Studios, London, March 72. It was produced by Peter Seinfeld for EG Records. It's the inner sleeve. This copy is absolutely tattered. It really is worn out. It still sounds good though. Yeah, you know, the vinyl is even hard to look at. It just looks completely, it's like somebody put it under their butt and skated down a hill on snow. So there you go, inner sleeve is nice there. And that's the Ireland label. This album has remake, remodel, Ladytron, If There Is Something, 2HB. I think that means to Humphrey Bogart. If There Is Something is a great track, good concert favourite as well. The Bob Medley, Chance Meeting, Would You Believe, Sea Breezes, Bitters End. Virginia Plain was a single released around the same time. That doesn't feature on this album, but it is on subsequent CD versions. So this one is pretty worn out, I say, but it still sounds good. Yeah, good album. Like I said, it's a good place to start, even though it is tattered. For Your Pleasure. Doesn't say it on the front of the sleeve here. It's a woman, or is it a woman? I think that was actually a man. You can see a cougar or something there, or I don't know, big wild cat. And this one is from USA. It's an Atco copy. I was living in Australia in 1997, and I think I bought most of the Roxy music catalogue on vinyl because they were so cheap, but most of them are Australian and US pressings. This one's another good album. Again, it's got the original lineup. Although John Porter plays bass on this one. You know, people come and go in this band all the time. This has Do the Strand on it, which is a great track about different types of dances that are just completely made up. It's one of my favourite Roxy music tracks. Beauty Queen, Strictly Confidential, Editions of You, In Every Dream Home, A Heartache, that's a great track. Really is. The Bogus Man, it's another good one as well, with a funny drum beat. Grey Lagoons, and For Your Pleasure. Recorded at Air Studios London, February 73. Produced by Chris Thomas. This is, yeah, it's another one that you kind of need to have if you're a fan. Atco label. platter is quite thick as well, yeah, it's a good one. I think the old pressings, you know, I'd be afraid to buy these again. I've had all the 80 CD pressings, and I've got the HD CD CDs as well. And it says here 3rd of the 7th, 97 Melbourne. Yeah, that's when I bought it. But you know, I know they've remastered them all again, and there has been and all that kind of stuff, but I'd be kind of half afraid to buy them just in case I didn't like the sound of them, you know. Next up is Stranded. This is album number 3. This one is a gatefold. There you go. Brian Eno had left at this stage, and he was replaced by Eddie Jobson. I think they've changed bass players nearly every album as well at this stage. This one has Street Life, Just Like You, Amazonia, Sam, Serenade, Song for Europe. That's a fantastic track, I love that. Mother of Pearl, Sunset. This one here, it says the 22nd of the 7th, 97. Batman Records, Melbourne. That was a great record shop. Yeah, stuff. The vinyl was really cheap. This is the label. It looks like an 80s repress, and it's a direct metal master as well, I think. Yeah. But Batman Records in Melbourne, if there's any Australian people watching this, you remember. I think records were only $3 or $4. That was back then, you know. You could go in and spend $50 and get, you come home with a box of records, you know. It was fantastic. And yeah, I used to go there a lot. Country Life, and that's another fantastic cover. There you go. This one has The Thrill of It All, 3 and 9, All I Want Is You, Out of the Blue. It's another great Roxy track, If It Takes All Night. And then on the other side, Bittersweet, Triptych, Casanova. That's another great track, A Really Good Time, Prairie Rose. Recorded at Air Studios London, summer 74. Produced by John Punter with the band. Again, this is an Australian pressing. Here we have the lyrics, but you also have a little mini catalogue here, which is a nice touch. And, there you go. The Island label. It's a cool label, really. Next up is SIREN. This was released in 1975. The model on the cover is Jerry Hall, who was having a relationship with Ferry at the time, but then eventually she ran away with Rolling Stone Mick Jagger. This is a good album as well. Some kind of critics slated this, you know, they said, oh, it's actually quite entertaining. It's a lot more varied than, say, Country Life. And yeah, it's good. Love Is a Drug is on it. End of the Line, that's another great track. Sentimental Fool, Whirlwind. And then She Sells, Could It Happen to Me, Both Ends Burning, that's another great one. Nightingale, Just Another High. Yeah, this kind of loses its way a little bit, but it's still a pretty good album, you know, in its own right. Recorded at Air Studios London, summer 75. Produced by Chris Thomas. Engineered by Steve Nye. This is an Atco pressing. You always kind of find it the American Warner Brothers subsidiary, I think. The sleeves are quite thick, and the vinyl is quite thick as well. The inner sleeve, again, generic. Shows you albums by different Roxy members. Bryan Ferry solo. Ferry had a solo career parallel to Roxy. There you go, that's the Atco. this one's not in bad condition, few light scuffs and stuff in it, but it looks quite clean. Yeah. I like the older vinyl. Like I said, it's just clean it up properly, and you know, set up your needle right, and it just surprises. You know, it sounds great. There's a kind of a thump off it that you. All the new stuff sounds very. I don't know. I've been disappointed lots of times. Next up is Viva Roxy music. This is a live album, released in '76. Another glamorous gatefold. Track listing on this one is Out of the Blue, Pajama-rama, The Bogus Man, Chance Meeting, Both Ends Burning, If There Is Something, In Every Dream Home a Heartache, Do the Strand. And we have the core band here of Bryan Ferry, Andy MacKay, Paul Thompson, Phil Manzinera, Edward Jobson and John Wetton on bass. I think they've changed the bass player nearly every year. Again, this is an Atlantic or an Atco, and it says here $5. Dixon recycled. We buy CDs. $5. Back then that was only the equivalent to £2.50 UK or sterling, sorry. Yeah. There you go. It's very clean. It looks really good. In great condition. Yeah. Sound quality on this I always found was pretty dull and stuff. You can hear it. It's a bit, you know, it's a bit punky. You know, it's not. It doesn't sound fantastic hi-fi or anything like that. But it's a snapshot of the band at the time. It's rough and ragged and it's good. So that's kind of the first era, and you know, it's really 5 studio albums, and then there was a bit of a break before they kind of came back and reinvented themselves in 1979. And while there's always room for compilation albums, this one was released in 1977. It's Greatest Hits. Side 1 is here on the outer sleeve, and side 2 is on the back. And there you have a discography with track titles and stuff like that. So it shows the first 6 releases, which is nice. This one, I can't remember where I got it. Nothing written inside it, but I know it's damaged. It has a kind of 2 bad marks. Yeah, there. You know, there's kind of there's a lot of clicking going through those, but it has a track on it that you can't find on. Well, technically on vinyl, that you can't find on the first album, I think. Virginia Plain is on it, and also Pajama-rama. I think that was a single or a B-side or something. But so this is important because although Virginia Plain is scratched here, you know, well, it plays, but there's a kind of a big mark going through it, unfortunately. But you can pick this up. It's not that expensive. I reckon that, yeah, this looks like an 80s repress as well. Yeah, looks like it's a direct metal master. Anyway, Manifesto. This was released in 1979 after a 4-year break since SIREN in 1975. This is a different type of Roxy, a bit more upbeat, a bit more poppy, a bit more new wave and stuff. It's a kind of, yeah, it just, there's something about it that just doesn't, how will I put it? It kind of meanders a little bit, you know. It's kind of a mesh of styles. Great cover with dummies and stuff, but I think one of them is real. There's actually a real person in there. I can't remember. I saw it in a magazine one time. That they're just a load of dummies in a room. And so this one has east side and west side, and we've Bryan Ferry, Phil Manzinera, Andy MacKay, Gary Tibbs, Paul Thompson, Alan Spinner, Paul Carrick, Gary Tibbs and Alan Spinner are both bass players. So yeah, you'd often see different bass players on even 2 to 3 on some albums, session men. MANIFESTO, yeah, it's kind of meanders its way through, but it kind of builds up to nothing really. Thrash, yeah, don't really like that. Angel Eyes, that's the kind of punky version, but there's also a kind of a disco version with strings and stuff like that, which appeared on CD versions. But this is the original. Still Falls the Rain, stronger through the years. And then the West Side, Ain't That So, that's not bad, but again it meanders a little bit. My Little Girl, yeah, that's kind of a hark back to Motown, kind of a soulful tune. Dance Away, that's a great track. That was a single from this album. It's great. This version of it seems to be is like a 12-inch remix. There's a breakdown in the middle as well. It's longer than what you'd hear on compilation albums, and I think it's might be different from the CD versions as well. Cry, 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 and then Spin Me Round. Now, Spin Me Round is a very delicate little track, but it's the first track where, like, say, songs like Manifesto and Ain't That So, they sound like the Roxy music that came from around 1980 to 82 to Avalon, but they're just played with a band and there's no synthesizers washing in and out and stuff. But Spin Me Round has that atmosphere. It's definitely the start of Ferry's sound. It's something that he would take on to Flesh and Blood and onto Avalon and then onto his solo stuff in the 80s, such as Boys and Girls. So yeah, this is the start of it. Spin Me Round. Listen to that track and you'll see what I'm saying. You'll see what I'm saying. You'll understand what I'm saying. Again, the sleeve here is just East West. This is actually an Irish pressing. But the labels are just generic Polydor. It just says side 1 and side 2, but some pressings have got east side, west side on the label. Yeah, this one, found this in a charity shop about 3 years ago. I grabbed it because the only version I had was this one, and this is an Atco again, which I got in Melbourne, July 1997. So yeah, album was recorded at Ridge Farm, Basing Street. Produced by Roxy Music. But this one again, I just checked it out. Dance Away is, see, they're the proper labels now. Yeah, that's the way it should be. East side, west side. I checked this one out. Dance Away is only $3.45, so it's a different version again. But like I said, yeah, it's an album that I don't listen to that often. I don't really get that excited about it. You know what I mean? It doesn't involve me enough. There's some good tracks in it, but again, it's kind of, there is a single of Angel Eyes, which is kind of more disco soul, and it's just, yeah, just a bit annoying like that. I think that what they need to do is probably maybe reissue it and have all the bonus tracks and stuff there, complete the whole thing, because it's a bit diffused the way it's going. Next up is Flesh and Blood. This was released in 1980. Great cover, love the cover. The only problem is it should really be a gatefold, because you know, you can't see the 3 Javelin girls all in one go. I've seen posters of it and stuff like that, and I think a gatefold may exist. Not sure. This one is again Australian. I had a UK press as well. Don't know why I think I got rid of it because it's not here. I think I got rid of it because it was scratched or damaged. You know, I compared the two, and I might have given it away. 3rd of the 7th, 87 or 97. Excuse me. This is it here. Yeah, it's quite thin. Yeah, quite thin. But this album, yeah, this album again for me, it's you know, it's a bit flawed because it has Midnight Hour on it, which is the Wilson Pickett cover, which is a great track. But yeah, it kind of, I don't know, does it fit in here, you know? And then you've got Oh Yeah on the radio. That's probably one of the best songs Bryan Ferry ever wrote or sang. It's fantastic. And then Same Old Scene, that's good as well. But then Flesh and Blood, very moody, and yeah, it's kind of pointing towards Avalon again, but not in a good way, you know what I mean? It's just a little bit kind of meandering in a bit. Yeah. But listen to this album, and if you listen to Japan, that band, it sounds very similar, you know, yeah. It sounds very similar. Now I know 10 Drum by Japan is probably one of the best albums of the 80s, and it's one of my favourite albums, and it's incredible, there's nothing like it. But I think David Sylvian was definitely influenced by Bryan Ferry and Roxy music, and Bowie also. My Only Love, that's another good one, I like that. Bit long, but it's good. And then Over You, that's a great track, it kind of lightens up the album a bit. And then 8 Miles High, that's another cover. They do a good job, yeah. And then two kind of songs that don't really grab your attention, and Rain, 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 No Strange Delight. Again, it's got the rolling drum machine on it, you know, that he was using a lot at the time. Phil Collins was using it as well. And then we have Running Wild. Again, fantastic track. So this album, yeah, there's a song, a B-side I think, called Lover from around this time. It was in Miami Vice, and I think it was one of the B-sides of Jealous Guy in Certain Territories. But if Lover was on this instead of Rain, 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 or No Strange Delight or something like that, or yeah, it would have been good, yeah, because that's a great track. I really like it. It's just more focused, you know. This one is really the core of Ferry, Manzinera and MacKay, and then you've got session musicians, Alan Schwartzberg drums, Andy Newmark drums, Simon Phillips on drums. Yeah, 3 giants. And then basses are handled by Alan Spender, Neil Jason, Gary Tibbs, and Neil Hubbard guitar, Paul Carrick keyboard. Engineered by Rhett Davies at Basing Street and Gallery Studio. Mixed by Bob Clearmountain at the power station. So yeah, you know, mastered by Robert C. Ludwig at Masterdisc. Produced by Rhett Davies. He would go on to do Avalon as well. So this one, yeah, is kind of the smooth, you know, shined up Roxy. This is, a lot of fans don't really like this kind of stuff, but it's a transition, you know. It's definitely a better album than Manifesto in some ways, but like I said, it definitely suffers from weak tracks. Great cover though, it really is. Next up is the band's masterpiece, I guess. In some ways it is, because it's flawless, really. Everything about it works, everything about it is coherent, everything about it is just part of the whole. Yeah, it's a great album, Avalon. A lot of people love it. A lot of people love this and don't like the early stuff. A lot of people love the early stuff and don't like this. They'd say, ah, it's too slick, it's too whatever. But in its own right, if this was their only album, people would be even saying, yeah, wow, you know. But it's a great album, and certainly one of my favourite albums of all time, and a very enjoyable listen. Yeah, there's nothing bad I can say about it, really. Again, this is, I think it's marketed in Australia by Polygram. I can't remember. I remember buying this. I think it cost me $1, and it's a great copy. Album sounds great, in all, you know, any vinyl I've heard of this is fantastic. It kicks off with More Than This, and that's a great track. Really good song, and Space Between. It's kind of a jam almost, like, you know, it's kind of space. Reminds me of kind of the Electric Miles Davis stuff, you know, that just the bass constantly vamping the same thing, and yeah, and you'll notice on this album the lyrics aren't direct, you know, the songs are kind of a vehicle for the lyrics. The whole thing is a kind of an atmospheric, very clever thing to do. It's not easy to do this, You know, like we'll say songs on Manifesto are songs, and they're just, you know, like they're just like rock and roll. This is very sophisticated. You know, there's guitar motives, you know, chiming in and out. There's Phil Manzinera is all over this, even though you don't really, at first listen, you don't really notice it, but he's playing lots of tracks, and all his guitar motives are fantastic. If you take them all in there, this is an album that you're just going to have great fun with if you're a musician. Yeah, then Avalon itself is a beautiful slow track. And then India, small little kind of bridge, I suppose. It's quite short, but again, it's fantastic atmospheric piece. While My Heart Is Still Beating, that's another great track as well. But Ferry on this sounds like a priest, a drunk priest giving a sermon, you know, and it's all echoey and yeah. Then side 2, the main thing. It's pretty straightforward, and then Take a Chance with Me. Again, fantastic song. It's got an intro with just percussion and echo guitar and atmosphere and synthesizers in 6/8, and then bang, it comes in a 4/4. One of the best songs on the album, one of the best Roxy Music songs ever. Great guitar on it as well. Then Another Beauty, To Turn You On, that's a great track. True to Life, that's another good one as well. It really is. Very atmospheric. It reminds me of Slave to Love, which came in 1985 on Boys and Girls by Ferry, and then it ends up with Tara. Little oboe piece, and the sea can be heard in the background, and it kind of harks back to, you know, sea breezes and stuff like that. So yeah, it's actually, you know, you could glance over this album and say, oh yeah, it's kind of commercial and stuff, but if you break down each track and listen to the different things going on, there's a lot of percussion. It's just incredibly well crafted. It's actually quite deceptive. Don't be fooled by it. It's, you know, it's not. Yeah, it's fantastic. Recorded at Compass Point, Nassau. Engineer Rhett Davies. The Power Station, New York. Engineer Bob Claremont. Mastered by Robert C. Ludwig. It's fantastic. It's one of the best sounding albums as well you're ever going to pick up. Yeah. I think the cover here was taken in Ireland. I think that was Ferry's girlfriend at the time. Very early in the morning, some lake. Lyrics and the custom label. Yeah. Oh yeah, I see. Roxy Music, Avalon. Yeah. This has just been released again. A lot of people say it's fantastic. It's expensive. I'm kind of tempted. Maybe I will. I'd just like to have I'd like to have another copy of it. This one's getting tattered. Yeah, I paid $1 for this. You can actually see it here on the 22nd of the 5th, 1997 in Northcote, Melbourne. I was living up there. Melbourne's fantastic. Shout out to all you Aussies out there. I loved it. It's a great city. So that's Avalon. If you don't have any Roxy music and you know nothing about them, but you like Bryan Ferry's voice or you want to get into Roxy, just go and buy this. CD, cassette, vinyl, it doesn't matter. Just pick it up, and it's actually not that long as well. It's only, I think, 38 minutes. It's not a long album, but it's fantastic. There's another song that never made it to the cut. I think it's called Always Unknowing or something. It's quite atmospheric and moody, but I like it. Again, I have the 7-inch single. It did come out, I think, on a compilation of Roxy, which was all the albums in card sleeves and a bonus CD with 2 discs with all the B-sides and stuff. I really would like to get my hands on that, because I think the HD CDs from '99, they don't do the band justice, you know. I think that, yeah, I think they're going to have to be remastered properly without all this horrible compression and stuff like that. So there you go, that's Avalon. I can't praise it enough. It's a fantastic album. Go and get it today. Musique Roxy. This is a mini LP, live, 36 minutes, and it's from the 1982-83 tour, The High Road. There's also a video came out around the same time. This is good. It's got Can't Let Go. That was a Ferry track from his album Bright Strip Bare from '78, but it sounds great with the band playing it here. Then My Only Love, And Like a Hurricane is covered a Neil Young track, again very good. And then you got Jealous Guy, fantastic. So yeah, this is really good. This was recorded live at the Apollo Theatre, Glasgow by Radio Clyde's Mobile 2. It was released in 1983. Yeah, worth having, easy enough to pick up. Yeah, very, very nice. I mean, it's not really an album. It's a pity though, you know, if they only stuck another, what, 2 songs on it. You know, it would have been a live album, you know. It also has 2 different labels. Nice souvenir of the tour, I guess. You know. Can you get that back in there? Yeah, again, this was bought in Australia. Yeah, I went on a big spree that day, the 3rd of the 7th. The stuff was so cheap, you know. Come home, pop them on the turntable, and yeah, smoke your brains out. Next up is The Atlantic Years. This is another compilation. Totally unnecessary. It was released in 1983. Obviously Atlantic Records. So there's nothing here from Avalon. You get Dance Away, Angel Eyes, Over You, Love Is the Drug, Oh Yeah, on the radio. Ain't That So, My Only Love, The Midnight Hour, Still Falls the Rain, Do the Strand. Yeah, it seems to kind of dig into Flesh and Blood and Manifesto. There's very little here from the early stuff. Nice cover though, really nice. Nothing in here. Pretty boring labels. The actual version of Angel Eyes on this is the disco version, the softer version with the strings and stuff like that. So now you know where to get that. And finally, Heart Still Beating. This one was released in 1990. There we go. It's a live album. And it's actually from the 1982 tour, recorded live at Fréjus in France. This was the video, The High Road, I think. Yeah, this was the soundtrack to that. I'm not sure if the tracks are in exactly the same order and stuff like that, but yeah, this was good. Yeah, I liked the concert. I must buy the DVD though. That's the only thing. I don't have it. It's pretty cheap, but I must get my hands on it. I had the video years ago. You've got on this, it starts off with India, Can't Let Go, While My Heart Is Still Beating, Out of the Blue. Dance Away, Impossible Guitar, that's a Manzinera solo track. A Song for Europe. Love Is a Drug, Like a Hurricane, My Only Love. Bodin's Burning, Avalon, Editions of You, and then Jealous Guy. So yeah, this is great. Here now we have core band again of Ferry, Manzinera, MacKay, Neil Hubbard guitar, Andy Newmark drums, Alan Spenner bass, Jimmy Malin percussion, Guy Fletcher keyboards. Guy Fletcher went on to work with Art Knopfler and Dire Straits for most of the 80s. And backing vocals by Fonzie Thornton, Michelle Cobb, Tawata Agee. So yeah, again mixed by Bob Clearmountain and Rhett Davis at the power station. Just paper inners. Black Metal Master. I remember buying this on CD back in 1990. It comes on a single disc. has been remastered as well. There's the blue label. That's about it, yeah. So nice to have on vinyl. It hasn't been reissued as of yet. So that's Roxy music. That was the last one, and that was the end of that era completely. I mean, if this was released in late '82 before Christmas, well then that would tie it up, but obviously it was released 8 years later as archive material, I guess. There's been lots of compilations with Roxy music and Bryan Ferry, and Ferry had a big solo career, still does. But the band actually got back together in 2001 and started touring. I saw them live in 2006 and it was a fantastic concert. Really, really was. And they knew Mark on drums as well, which is, you know, guy is a total legend, fantastic drummer. And that was a great gig. And they also released Live at the Apollo, and I think that came out on triple vinyl LP or double vinyl, I can't remember. I don't actually have that, but I might try and get my hands on it sometime. It's just the live stuff, it's just, you know, well played and stuff like that. It's not essential, it really isn't. I have it on DVD, I think. Like I said, it's not essential, but it'd be nice to have it, you know. Anyway, so that's it. That's my word on Roxy music. I hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to subscribe and take care.